interesting thing about Vedanta is that it really selects the people. In other words, you really don't hear about it and show up unless you really are ready to hear it. That's the interesting thing about it. It's not a popular thing. It's not a movement or religion or anything like that. It's for people who are basically at the end of their spiritual journeys and have done most of the work that's necessary. Not necessarily religious work or spiritual work, but have lived life in such a way that they're ready for freedom. But who still have a few questions left. Yeah. The what's it all about question. You know, you've negotiated your way through it fairly well, all things considered. I mean, you know, you could be in a halfway house with drug and alcohol problems. You could be, you know, taking diet pills and watching TV. Yeah, that might be your solution to life, but most everybody who's interested in this topic has done pretty well. You've got, you know, 3 square meals a day, and a roof over their head, clothing, and some degree of security in this world. So that frees the mind to think about higher things, other things. Oh. You know, people say that, you know, well, shouldn't everybody have this possibility of being free? And that's right, everyone does have the possibility to be free, because freedom's the nature of yourself. But not everyone understands that what their self is. So we got to pick up ideas about who we are here and there, mom and pop, friends, and federal government and the business community. They all tell us who we are. And part of us believes these stories. So there's always a struggle involved in this search for freedom. And what Vedanta says is that it is in fact the desire of every person to be free. That the reason why we do anything is to be free. You don't accumulate money for money's sake. You accumulate money for the sense of security or freedom it gives you from suffering, from insecurity. You don't chase pleasure because for any other reason than you want to feel free from this feeling, this emotional dissatisfaction that you have. You want to feel good because you feel bad. That's why people go for, you know, all these entertainments and so forth. But they really don't feel that good. They want to feel good. They want to be free of this bad feeling. Or virtue. There's a lot of people who don't feel virtuous. They don't feel they're good enough. For some reason they feel they're not pure enough, or holy enough, or honest enough, or spiritual enough. Mom and Dad told you you weren't good enough. Well, however you picked it up, you'd sort of feel, I'm not good enough, and so you want to be free of that feeling that you're not virtuous enough. So maybe, you become religious, or spiritual, or whatever. You want to be a good person. What? Because you have this sense that this agitation that comes from not feeling like you're good enough, that you're good. I'm a bad person. I think wicked thoughts. So forth. Oh, what Vedanta says is that, even if I get a mosquito bite, I scratch it, right? Why? I want to be free of the itch. Any kind of discomfort is a problem. Because suffering isn't natural to human beings. It seems like it's natural, doesn't it? It seems like it's natural. One time I went to visit a friend of him. He just had a new girlfriend, and he went out I hadn't met her. He ran out to get some things for dinner. I was invited to dinner. And I was left in the kitchen alone with his girlfriend. And so, I thought, well, let's cut to the chase. Let's avoid all the small talk. And we did a little small talk, and then I just brought the conversation around to this idea, the spiritual idea. And I asked her, I said, well, just what do you think life's all about? She wasn't familiar with any of the spiritual stuff at all. And she thought for a long time. She was cooking spaghetti or something. She really thought for a long time. I mean, she didn't say anything. I could just see her there, the wheels turning, and she was really trying to come up with a question or an answer. And then she said, to suffer? Yeah. That seems natural, I mean, it can seem quite natural, but if suffering was natural, then you wouldn't try to get rid of it, would you? You wouldn't do all these things to get rid of this feeling of suffering that you have in life. When you feel good, you don't think, oh, I know, that's a problem. I feel good. I think I should feel miserable now. How can I make myself feel miserable? Nobody thinks like that.
It seems like some people, if I could interrupt for a half an hour or so. No.
Just do it all at once.
Dote on misery. They love misery. I've even acted like that myself, like I want to be miserable.
No, that's right. That's right. It becomes comfortable. It becomes an identity. It's your friend. Your
Absolutely.
Familiar. Bad habits, all bad habits are like they're really suffering. You're actually suffering, but you don't want to let go of your coffee and your cigarettes. Doesn't it feel so cozy to have that? You're ruining your health basically. You're injuring yourself. Actually, in fact, slow death of 1,000 cuts, but nonetheless, you're doing it. And it just becomes natural. So what Vedanta says is that all of these pursuits, all of these things that we do to relieve this sense of suffering, insecurity, are ill-advised and ill-directed. In other words, we take for granted the fact that there is something wrong with us, without actually looking to see if there is actually anything wrong with us. We assume that there is. And then we set out to do all these activities, all these therapies, shopping therapy, or there's a billion therapies. Oh gosh, that's what the culture is. They're giving us the therapies and the identities that we need to handle our problem. And every time we do one of our therapies, what do? Every time we pursue something that we think will solve our problem, and does make us temporarily feel okay, what are we doing? Actually doing. Or actually, think about it, reinforcing the belief that there's something wrong with us. Rather than looking into the belief that there is something missing, there is something wrong with me. Rather than looking into that to see whether or not it's true, we just accept it as the truth. So you know what Vedanta said? Vedanta is a science of inquiry. So you want to?
Yeah.
Well, in just a minute, I'll finish this up and then we'll go into the text. Vedanta is the science of inquiry. Means it's there are rules. There's a way of thinking that can help you. There's knowledge based upon the experience of others. Science is the experience of a lot of people. It's just the principles or the rules or the knowledge that came from observation and analysis of experience. In physical sciences, you have a body of knowledge that comes from studying, like ophthalmic. What is it? What is it? The eye science?
Ophthalmology.
Ophthalmology. Ophthalmology. It's a science because the eyes operate according to certain principles. They're mechanical. They operate according to certain rules. Vision is a field that operates according to rules. So people have observed this and they've come up with the understanding of how the eyes work. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? You got a little laser now. They can burn off bits of your, I don't know what it is, cornea or whatever it is. Retina or whatever. George will know. He's a doctor guy. And fix your vision. That's pretty amazing, isn't it? I mean, this little tiny fire that's cooking your eyeball, and when it's done, you see better, huh? Because there's rules there. It's a science. So, and astronomy, the science. There are rules. These planets all spin around in certain ways. And in the same way, the human being is a field of investigation. Why shouldn't we study ourselves? Why just study a little part, an eye or an ear, a nose, or whatever it is? Or why study some various parts of nature? Nature is very big. You can study all kinds of things out there forever. There's people who love bugs. Huh? Isn't it? Bug people.
My boss is one.
Yeah.
She's a doctor and
Entomology.
Entomology, not etymology. Yeah, no, there's the science of etymology also. The origin of words. So, what about me? What about the self? What about me? Why shouldn't there be a science of me? And there is. There's a science of me. So don't think you're studying Vedanta, okay? You're not studying Vedanta. You're studying yourself. The subject matter here is not Vedanta. The subject matter is you. Who am I? That's the topic. And by God's grace, ladies and gentlemen, the jury is not out on who you are. Yeah, it's not. The jury is not out. And so what they figured it out a long time ago. And tonight we're going to, for the next couple of months, we're going to study or have a look and see what the sages say. These are guys, rishis, they're called sages, who figured it out. And we'll just go at it patiently, carefully, without any kind of fanfare, and see if it doesn't give you some appreciation of who you are. Okay, Lita, you can switch it on. Do mine too, will you?
I did already. So
Okay.
I didn't have enough on this one to turn on. So we're going to have a break in 15 minutes? Is that right?
In 50 minutes.
Yeah.
5-0. In 50 minutes, we're going to have a break, and just shake out
5 or 10 minutes.
5 or 10 minutes.
Just so people don't walk in front of the camera and go to the
Yeah,
bathroom.
and it's good. This is going to. I'm not going to overload you, but this is it takes a lot of brain power, a lot of thinking, and it's good to just relax for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and do a little more. It depends on how much. It's not like a lecture. I'm not going to lecture you. It's not. We don't have to get this done. This is an investigation. Okay, we're making an investigation, and my job is to keep the conversation on topic. That's my job. Because it is a conversation, and we can have a communication. You can say what you think or feel, you can ask questions, but it should be on the topic. We're honestly, we're not interested in too much of what's going on in your life. Darn it.
We're kind of detached from that a bit.
Yeah. And how you feel about it. How you feel about things. How you feel about things is very lovely. It's very wonderful. We're very happy that you do have feelings about things. But you say that for like coffee with your friend, or your significant other. Pillow talk. You can do that at home. Anyway, so we'll just do that. But don't jump out with questions right away. I'm not trying to suppress you, but generally the way this teaching is set up, it provokes you to think, and then it supplies the logic or the answer a little later. So if you just hang in there, most of your questions or doubts will be handled. But if you know, so let it roll a bit before you yes but. Everybody's got a yeah but monster inside. Huh? You know the yeah but monster? And I'm happy to do combat with your yeah but monster, but stand forewarned that you're not going to win. So if you really have a doubt, it's a good doubt. Okay, we don't want to argue. It's not an argument. This is not opinions. It's not my opinions. Okay. I have my opinions. I've got good opinions about various things. But what I'm teaching here is not opinions. And if you want to have, question or argue, we can argue later, but that's not what we're doing. So it doesn't look like there's anybody here that wants to do that. But I have to say that at the beginning, because very often there is somebody who's a contrary person, who's got a chip on their shoulder, and they want to prove that this is all, baloney. And they know better. Anyway, who are these sages? Where does this come from? Where does Vedanta come from?
End of knowledge.
Vedanta means the knowledge, the understanding or the knowledge that stops your search for knowledge. Once you get this knowledge, you won't be looking for any knowledge again. It stops your seeking. That's a peculiar. Most knowledge doesn't do that, does it? Mostly when you know something, you learn all the stuff more that you don't know. Usually knowledge means you become more aware of, the more ignorance becomes apparent to you, the more knowledge you have. So you just keep, You just keep going and going and going. And you always feel there's more to know. Well, this is a different kind of knowledge.
My friend is here.
Okay, this would be a good time to stop. Can we stop for a second? Because I
Yeah.
already have to change this thing.
Yeah, sure.
Please come in.
Yes, thank you. And I want to apologize to the group for my lateness. There was an accident on 84, and there was no way around it. So
It's fine, come on. Have a seat.
This is my friend Richard.
Okay?
No, it's not.
It's not what?
Did you- Just okay.
Give me the signal when you're ready to go. Technology. All right. Okay, where does this knowledge come from? It comes from human experience. It comes from the human beings, or through human beings, let's put it that way, or two human beings. In Vedanta, it's called apurushe jnanam. It's a Sanskrit word, and it means not from the human mind. Purusha means a person, apurusha means not a person, and jnana means knowledge that's not coming from a person. Now, that's, what kind of knowledge is that? That means this is not a philosophy. Okay? It's not a philosophy. It's not a religion. It's not a school of thought. It's not a belief system. This is the revelation of consciousness to certain human beings. Consciousness or awareness, self, which we'll roughly call God right now. I say roughly because there's some explanation. We need some understanding and explanation to know what God is. This consciousness or awareness or spirit or the truth reveals itself through two human beings. We say it comes to us. It's not channeled information. The reason why it's not channeled information is because channeled information is unreliable. Why is it unreliable? Because, it's like if you have a pipe and you pour water through it, there'll be impurities on that pipe, won't there? That the water will kick loose, and at the other end, when the water comes out, it'll be impure. It'll have impurities. Unless, of course, the pipe is absolutely clean. But no human being's absolutely clean. It's what happens with religions. Somebody has a vision of God or the truth or something like that, but his personality, the vehicle through which it's coming, is not clean or pure. So he adds a whole bunch of his stuff to the vision. You look at Christianity, it's a good example, the Old Testament. There's this guy, God, he's the eternal. They've got it all right about God except one thing. When you ask God what to do about the people that are standing in your way, God says, kill them. See? There's a contamination. Well, this knowledge is not contaminated. It's pure. And how did they achieve that? Through a certain method, we call it a sampradaya, through tradition. Through tradition, this knowledge came to people. We say Vedanta came to us. It was heard. The knowledge is heard. Heard means something that came from outside. It came to you. Not through you or from you. If it comes from me, then what? It's just my stuff, isn't it? Where is existentialism now? Remember existentialism? Sartre, Heidegger, Camus, all these fellows? Where's that? That's a philosophy. That came from these people's minds. It had a certain kind of currency for a while, and now it's all gone. It didn't last because it wasn't the truth. It was just some human being's ideas or opinions, beliefs about reality. So this knowledge, Vedanta, comes directly from consciousness. So I know it's a hard sell. Maybe it's not a hard sell. But it's very important to understand this, because when we bring human beings and their ideas into it, we have all kinds of problems. And what has happened here is that over the time, and by the time this man wrote this book, these verses, it wasn't a book really, it was verses, that was called a book, there was like 6 or 7 centuries that this knowledge had been operating. It had been thoroughly vetted and commented upon by other people who had had that vision. It's called optavakya, the testimony. There are several means of knowledge, perception and inference, and one is optavakya. It means the testimony of a competent witness. A competent witness is somebody who has nothing invested in it. They're just there and they see it. A rishi, a kavi, means a seer. The men who gave us this were seers. They just saw something, and enough of them saw it so that they could testify that that's actually what happened. And over 5 or 6 centuries, right, any kind of impurities or opinions that tried to creep in, right, were purified. So a methodology developed. It's called a sampradaya. There's a methodology, a tradition that developed that keeps it pure. So it's as clean today, in 2010, as it was 5,000 years ago. It's not going to change. The truth is not going to change, and human beings are not going to change either. Reality it doesn't change. Reality seems to change, but in fact it doesn't change. The basic factors in reality are exactly the same today as they were 10 billion years ago. And they will be the same in 10 billion years. Nothing's going to change. Only on the surface, various little appearances, things will superficially change. But the fundamental structure of reality is not going to change. Just because we got cell phones, iPods, doesn't mean we're any further along than the cavemen were. Huh? The cavemen, we have all the same problems, maybe more than the cavemen had. Maybe more. But even if we have more or less problems, it doesn't matter because we're still the same. There's only one person here. There's only one human being. And we're going to talk about that one human being. And that human being has been the same forever. So this knowledge, right, has been preserved and kept pure. And it took a while for it to develop. That is, the core teachings, which come from the Upanishads, these were the pure visions, the absolute pure visions of reality or the truth. Those contain certain apparent contradictions. And they're spoken in such a way that they need to be, unfolded. They need to be explained by somebody who knows. The self is bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. Huh? What is it? You're bigger than the biggest and smaller than the smallest. What does that mean? Okay. These are statements that are made in the Upanishad, in the source, the ultimate source text for this. And so people who had sorted this out, and who had seen this and understood what this meant, they made commentaries. So there's a whole body of literature that developed around this. And then there were commentaries on commentaries and so forth, and people kept adding and adding more and more clarity to the original vision. And in the 8th century, a great sage came on the scene as a young boy. His name was Adi Shankaracharya. Acharya means a teacher. Shankara means that which is always good. The teacher of what's always good. What's always good? Me. Huh? I'm what's always good. Why am I what's always good? I means you. I means me. Why am I always good? Because it's for my sake that I do everything, isn't it? for the sake of myself that I do everything. So I must think I'm pretty good. I must think I'm pretty important. I must think I'm pretty special. Huh? No. So this guy, Adi Shankaracharya, he put these teachings into such a clear, beautiful way that it's almost impossible not to understand them and assimilate them. And we're going to take this, we're not going to take the introductory text, we're going to take a text that's just one step up. There are basic texts, just like going through school. There are grade school texts and high school texts and university and postgraduate texts. The same in this science. And we're going to take one that's kind of on a secondary level. If we have a problem with some of the words or definitions, I'll go back and we'll explain them to you, because we need to establish a vocabulary here. If we're going to have a communication, we need to be on the same page about the words that we use. Very important. Well, when you say God, then I have to know what you mean. Huh? You can't have one idea of God and me have another idea of God, because then we're not going to communicate. We need to get it clear what God is. For example, we need to know what the self is, what it means. So when we're talking about it, you're not thinking about something else. And the first text that sets this up is called Tattva Bodh, and Tattva Bodh means the knowledge of truth, and it just defines these terms. I'll assume pretty much that you know this, and probably you do, because Vedanta is really not something that you don't know. Because why? It's about you. Right? We assume that you're already enlightened and that you do know this. But that what? Just a little lack of clarity is there that makes it possible for you to misunderstand. And so our job, the job of the text and the teacher, is to clear your understanding. In India, they worship the feet of the Guru. Guru means the one who takes away ignorance. And why do they worship the feet? Because self-knowledge, what? Should be what stands under you. A realized person is what? Stands on this knowledge, what? Of who they are. That's their understanding. That's their support in life. Your feet are your support. If you have this knowledge of who you are, but as the basis for your life, you're going to be a happy person. You're going to be a secure person and a happy person. No doubt about it. Christ said, on this rock I build my church. He wasn't talking about Peter. They all say, he meant Peter. Peter was going to build the church. No, he was talking about the self, about God, about awareness. He said, on the Holy Spirit or on the truth, I build my life. That's the meaning of that. Anyway, so self-knowledge, Adi Shankaracharya. Adi Shankaracharya was probably enlightened from birth or thereabouts. When he was a very young boy, he wanted to become a sannyasi. Do you know what a sannyasi is? Sannyasis are renunciate. In India, there are a group of people who just let go of everything. They're legally dead. They have a ceremony. They throw all their clothes into the fire. They take certain vows. I won't stay in the same place for 3 days. I won't injure anybody. I won't search for food. I'll just accept whatever comes to me, so forth. And they put on orange clothes. They're called renunciates. They're totally uninterested in this world. This world is not what they're after. They're going for what? The other world. They're going for enlightenment. And this boy, he's about 6 or 7, I don't know exactly. And he's nagging his mom. You can imagine, you know, a kid says, hey, I'm not interested in getting married and getting a job and getting an education and doing all these things. I want to become a hippie bum. And the mom, of course, is not too happy about this, and she's not going to let it go. And if you follow Vedic Dharma, in other words, if you're part of this Vedic spiritual culture, your mother and your father are to be considered your guru, your teacher. God gave you a mother and a father to teach you who you are, to give you what you're there. So you need to obey them and follow their wishes. And that's the idea. So for him to become a sannyasi, he has to get his mom to say yes. And mom doesn't want to say yes, but she just thinks he's nutty. Because what kind of kid, you know, kids are like that. They get these funny ideas. They probably don't follow up on it, but they get all these crazy ideas. And parents know very well that they'll get over it. And they just say, yes, yes, there, and they don't. They just wait till their mind changes. But this kid just keeps bucking her, see? One day when they were about 8, they went to a river to bathe, and he swam out a little bit after he had his bath. And then he started flailing and thrashing and screaming, and, Mother, there's a crocodile, he's pulling me down. Now there's one interesting rule in Vedic culture, and that is that you can grant a person, you can let a person become sannyasi if their death is imminent. There's always a way out. There's a way around you know how it is in life. There's a rule around every rule. So there's a rule around this one. And the mother, she sees he's going under. He keeps going under, and he bobs up and he's yelling and screaming. He's putting on a huge show for his mom. And he says, Mom, let me take sannyas, I'm dying. And she said, okay, by my blessing, son, you can take sannyas. And then miraculously the crocodile lets him go, of course. And there's another rule in Vedic science that once you give your word, you can't go back on it. So she can't go back. So now he's a sannyasi. And he trundles off when he's 10 or 12, whatever it was, I don't know, very young age, to the kind of top guru there. His guru is called Govindacharya. Govindam Paramanandam. Anyway, it's a beautiful verse. We always sing it at the beginning of these shlokas, these verses, when they teach it. He invokes his guru. He says who his guru is, Govindacharya. And Govindacharya was the big top guy, Vedanta guy in India. And he was highly respected and ran a big school of Vedanta, you could say. He had many disciples and was highly respected. And he was the guy you went to when you needed to do something for the tradition, for the sampradaya, for the lineage. You talked to him. So Shankar, this boy, comes up to him and says, I'd like to write a bhashya. A bhashya means a commentary on one of the Upanishads, or some text, I'm not sure, I don't remember what it was exactly he said. And the guru looks at this kid and he says, are you nuts? He said, you're a kid, what do you know? And even if you do know something, what are all these people going to say? This is just absolutely unheard of. It's ridiculous. I can't allow you to do this. This kid is insistent, He said, I can't give my permission. It will ruin everything. All the monks will say I've gone nuts. And then when it shows up that you don't know what you're talking about, it'll look bad for me, and it'll look bad for the tradition, and sorry, go away. So he wrote it anyway, and handed it to the guru, and the guru said, okay, write whatever you want. Okay, right? He realized that he had what? fully enlightened person standing in front of him, this young boy. And within a short lifetime, when he began teaching and writing, he basically revolutionized all of India. He brought back the Vedas, established these great monasteries which are still going today, and essentially defeated all the other major spiritual types in debate, who most of them surrendered to Vedanta, and the ones who didn't, the Buddhists, for example, they left and went to Nepal and elsewhere. So this guy, you know, he knew what he was talking about, and you'll see from this text the clarity and beauty of this text. It's called Atma Bodh. Atma means the self, and Bodh means knowledge. The text is called self-knowledge. As I said, we're talking about you. I'm not talking about anything but you. But you're the topic here. Okay? It says, first verse, I am composing this treatise. He's going to tell why he's writing this. In the tradition, that's what you do. You say what you're going to do. I am composing this treatise on self-knowledge for those who are purified and peaceful, calm of mind, free of craving, and desirous of liberation. Okay? That's the people to whom this is addressed. We said earlier, you need certain qualifications are there. And what are these qualifications? For those who are purified and peaceful, calm of mind, free of craving, and desirous of liberation. Good. And there are certain, and what are these qualifications? This is a checklist. You need to check up in your own mind, see where you fit. This is not a judgment. Don't feel bad or good on any account of any of these things. This is just a dispassionate list that you need to check up on to see. Where do I stand on each one of these items? Okay. And there are a number of them. They're called qualifications. First one is what? Discrimination. Discrimination is defined as the ability to separate what's eternal from what's constantly changing. From what is apparent, to separate what is apparent from what is real. Life all the time, you're always using your discrimination, right? You're always trying to figure out what's going on. You fall in love with somebody, for example. You meet somebody, and you're thinking of having a relationship. And there's all these words coming out of their mouth about who they are. Huh?
Ooh. Don't play with that thing.
Sorry.
Sorry, I just got it. There are all these wonderful words coming out of their mouth. And you want to know how much is BS and how much is the truth, right? Probably most of it's BS in the beginning. The truth sort of gradually develops as you go. But you're always discriminating. What does he mean? What does she mean? What's going on here? You're trying to figure out what's real. In other words, which words actually apply to this person and which is what? Calculated to make me like this person or to hide certain things about this person or whatever it is. Discrimination. I want to know what's real. Now, in this case, discrimination is what? Between what's changing and what isn't. See, there's a part of you, or all of you, we'll see how that is, that doesn't change. Isn't there? I mean, aren't you really the same as you were the day you popped out of the womb? Aren't you just a conscious, awareful being? And what has changed? My body has changed. My feelings have changed. My ideas and thoughts have changed. But the one who sees has not changed. The objects change, but me, the subject, awareness, doesn't change. That's why you can report all these ups and downs in your life, isn't it? You know when you were really, really high, and you know when you were really, really low. You can see all the various fluctuations that have taken place over all your life. Why? Because you're just there behind it, observing it. That's why. So discrimination is what? The ability to separate that part of you that doesn't change from the part of you that does. That's how we're going to use our discrimination. We're not going to try to discriminate whether we should have chocolate or vanilla at Baskin-Robbins. That's discrimination too. Do I want chocolate or do I want vanilla? You can use chocolate, you know. What should I use? Lita was nagging me. Should I use a green shirt or a yellow shirt? That was my, and you go, what, you got 800 types of shampoo. And you're trying to discriminate. Which one of these 800 bottles of shampoo do I need? Well, no, we're not going to use it for that purpose. We're going to use it for what? Just separating our real self, who we really are, from what? The parts of us that are not real, or apparently real. That's discrimination. The next one's called dispassion. If you have what? If you have discrimination, you will have what? A peaceful, calm mind. Won't you? Because you won't be fooled. If you don't have discrimination, you're always being fooled and you're always disappointed. You're always being disillusioned. You think it's one way and it turns out to be another way. That's because you lack discrimination. This is what he means when he's saying these qualifications. The next one's called vairagya. It means dispassion. And dispassion is defined, you're going to like this one. Dispassion is defined as indifference to the fruits of your actions. Uh-oh. Huh? Tell me who's indifferent to getting what they want. Huh? Huh? We're not indifferent to getting what we want, are we? We're very, very, very passionate about it. If it doesn't look like we're going to get what we want, we get upset. We do really care if we get what we want. And whenever anything comes, what do? Do you take it, what? Oh, well, that's cool. The good stuff, you say, oh, that's cool. Great. So what? When the bad stuff comes, you say, is that cool? That's cool. So what? That's dispassion. It doesn't matter. It's okay. No, we're not getting what we want. We're really upset. That's not a dispassionate person. That's a passionate person. That's a person who what? Believes that what? Getting what he or she wants is going to make them happy. But a dispassionate person knows that getting what you want doesn't necessarily make you happy. And if it does make you happy, that person knows that that happiness doesn't last. Huh? Because what? It's just coming from some object that changes, or your mind, your relationship to the thing that you wanted changes because you got what you wanted, so you don't want it anymore. Huh? Right? Or if you do, then what? You got to worry about keeping it, like money. That's, so a dispassionate person takes what comes without going up and down. If you have that dispassion, then your mind is going to be what? Peaceful, calm, settled. Because we need this peaceful, calm mind because why? To investigate, you need something as subtle as yourself. You don't want your mind all agitated. Well, how are you going to learn anything? How are you going to discover anything? How are you going to gain knowledge? How are you going to assimilate knowledge if your mind is constantly agitated? It's not going to work. Somebody asked me, wanted me to debate one of these some famous modern gurus. And I said, well, if the person wants to debate, it's fine with me, but I don't know what they're saying. And he said, well, I'll get you one of his books. So he bought the book and gave it to me. And I started reading it, and it all sounded very reasonable. I mean, I didn't get very far, actually. But the first page, all pretty good, pretty reasonable, all makes a lot of good sense. And then right at the end of the first page, he says, but you don't need to be fit for enlightenment. You don't need to be qualified for that. That's what he said. Just absolutely the opposite of what they're saying here. You need to be fit, you need to be qualified. And that's why, there are 400 people going to see him, because he just take anybody in off the street. You just wander in off the street, and you're good to go. And after the satsang, you wander back out on the street, and you're what? You've forgotten it all, basically. Because you're not fit, you're not qualified. So these are qualities of the mind that need to be cultivated, that should be there for a successful spiritual inquiry, for a successful pursuit, to be successful in this. Discrimination, dispassion, clarity of mind. And that involves a number of things. The first one is what? Sama. It means the ability to control your mind. Now, control your mind doesn't mean what? I'm controlling my mind. Because nobody's going to control their mind like that. Your willpower is not going to do the job. Tell me what you're going to think in 30 seconds. If you have so much control over your mind, you can now predict what you will think in 30 seconds. You do not know what's going to come in 30 seconds. Something you have no idea. Your mind is something that just appears in you, and it wants certain things, it's afraid of certain things, it does certain things, it causes certain things to happen, this subjective stuff. My desires, my fears, all of these things appearing in my mind. How do I control it? By observation. I don't control it by what? Trying to control it. I control it by observing it, by understanding it. And once I understand what it's doing, then I can either act on those impulses or not, whatever they are. I can gain some control over my life. Because my life is what? Nothing but what? The subjective things coming out of my own mind that are motivating me to behave and act in a certain way and producing what? My life situation. If I can't control my mind by observation, I need to control it by what? I need to control my senses. That's called Dhamma. You know, sometimes you're a little irritated at somebody, and you just really, you know you shouldn't say it, huh? You know very well it's going to cause you trouble, but you want to be honest. Huh? You need to share. Huh? And so you say it. You know, for their own good, isn't it? It's always for their own good you want to do this. Huh? And what happens? They don't like it. And some kind of very unpleasant, right, result comes. Conflict, guilt, you feel guilty because you did say it, right, because it wasn't kind, right, or whatever. Just as an example of controlling your senses. Speech control. That's a big one. Learning how to keep your mouth shut. If you can't, what? Just release these thoughts and feelings in your mind, then what? Keep your mouth shut. Let them burn up. Show some kind of discipline here. Show some restraint. See, a mature person can do this. A child cannot do this. An immature person just cannot shut up. They can't keep, it's just pouring out from this unconscious source. It's just pouring out. It's vomiting out. And he has no control over it at all. And all that's going to do is create a huge amount of problems in your life. So I need to have what? Be able to control my sense organs, observe my mind. Swadharma, here's another qualification. This is a good one. Swadharma means taking care of yourself. Being true to yourself, to who you are as a person. Not trying to be like somebody else. It has two aspects. One is looking after other people. The women always have, this is always a big problem for women. Men don't have it as much as women. Although, huh?
Yeah, most men don't. You're not worried too much about taking care of others.
No, that's right. But no, there was a guy on the internet. He came in a few days ago into the web and started chatting with me, and that's what he's been doing all his life. It's driven him nuts. He's a do-gooder. He's out there helping everybody, and it's driven him absolutely crazy. He's not taking care of himself. He's spending all of his energy, right, helping other people. And you know, well, that's meant to be all very noble and virtuous. That plays really good, doesn't it? You're out there making a difference. It makes you look good. You're compassionate, and kind, and caring. But what? Yeah, you're definitely fixing the world, but what about you? Are you getting fixed? No, you're not getting fixed. You're not looking after yourself. You're taking care of them because what? You don't want to take care of yourself because there's too much stuff in there that is not pleasant, that you don't want to deal with. I one time ended up in the occupied territories in Palestine, just outside of Jerusalem, a little town called Abu Dis. And I was staying in the house that was run by a French nun. And she was part of the international peace movement. A do-gooder extraordinaire, as the French say. She was a do-gooder, you know. And she was helping, she was going to heal. I mean, she was going to heal the Jews and the Palestinians. So she had this international peace movement, get her a whole bunch of money. She had a big house there, and she used it kind of like to try to get the Israelis and the Palestinians together. And then there were a bunch of Palestinian boys who were going to school there, and she got money for them to go to university and so on. She wasn't impartial, actually. And the thing wasn't working. And it just wasn't working. And she was totally frazzled and stressed. Because she, you know, they weren't hugging each other. They're supposed to hug each other. You know, num num num, warm fuzzy, kissy kissy. If you've ever been to that part of the world, it's never going to happen. Those people are happy to hate you. And they got their list of hatreds and grievances goes back centuries. If they can solve their problem right now, don't worry. They'll dig up problems from 5,000 years ago that'll allow them to be in conflict. They like it. They feel righteous because they're fighting. So, wasn't working. I just kept my mouth shut. I was writing a book, and I was happy there. I mean, apart from the bullets that came flying at me one night when I was sleeping on a veranda, and the Israelis came through town, and the Palestinians were throwing stuff at them, and they started shooting, and bullets were zipping around, and then we were in a curfew for 24 hours and so forth. That wasn't a lot of fun, but basically I was happy. Anyway, one day she came to me and she said, Can I talk with you? I said, sure. And she said, and she told me, this isn't working. Why do you think it's not working? And I said, well, I can tell you, but I don't think you want to hear the answer. And she said, well, try me. So I told her, because you're not taking care of your own stuff. You're an angry person. And the anger in you is, as they say in England, querying the pitch. It's getting in the way of the performance of your duties here. You're not doing it dispassionately. You're not fair. You're not a good example of a peaceful person. If you want these people to be peaceful, you've got to show them what peace is. You have to model peace, and you're not peaceful. And because you're not looking at yourself, you're all extroverted, you're all worried outside. So, I thought, well, nobody ever listens to me or takes my advice anyway, so. A few days later, just before I was going to leave, she came to me and she said, can I talk to you? I said, sure. I said, what's up? She said, I'm leaving. I said, you're leaving? Well, what about all this? She said, no, I thought about it and you're right. I said, well, what are you going to do? I'm going back to the monastery and try to sort out myself. I'm going to take care of me. Right? So this Swadharma, so you have to look after yourself. You can't help anybody if you're not okay. The other idea here in Swadharma is what? Sorry. The other idea is what? Don't try to be like somebody else. Huh? That's a big one. That's maybe even more of a problem. You got this idea that you're not okay as you are and you want to be like Christ or the Buddha, or you want to be like Jennifer Aniston, or Brad Pitt. Huh? You want those six-pack abs and those big, beautiful breasts, and you want to be very famous, huh? And have a big jet, huh? That's what you want to do, right? You don't want to be this poor little schmuck that's wandering around, worrying about paying their taxes, picking their nose, and worrying about their kids and stuff. That's not glamorous. That's not glorious. Swadharma. And if you don't take care of yourself, if you're not true to who you are as a human being, most of these spiritual people are trying to run away from who they are as a human being. They're not satisfied with who they are as a person. So they want to be like somebody else or be somebody else. They want to be different from what they are. So they get on this whole spiritual trip and they become spiritual. They paste another personality on top of what? This not so nice, not so beautiful, not so wonderful person. They're inauthentic. They get this idea. You see them in these spiritual, religious communities. They all this smarmy, smiley face, and the huggy-lovey things. And there's all this poison inside, just waiting to get out. And you do one wrong thing, and it just leaps out at you. You wonder, where did that come from? You know, I was once in one of these things, and I went to this chanting thing. This beautiful woman, you know, and she was there, and she was meant to like see that everything went right, you know. And I made a mistake because I couldn't sit like everybody else. I had to sit in chairs. I had a bad knee, and I accidentally, you know, she'd been all lovey-dovey and everything. She'd been all smarty and smiling, and isn't it wonderful? We're all here together worshiping God. You know, that was, and I accidentally just rested my chanting book on my knee. Ayo! She's on me like anything. Oh my God, did I get a lecture? I was contaminating and defiling that book because it touched my foot, my leg. Huh? Just, huh? Pasting this up, being something other than what you are. That's called swadharma. Forbearance, another quality, characteristic. You need to be able to what? Suffer the little pinpricks of life with equanimity. There's all kinds of irritating little things going on, huh? And I don't want, you know, if I need to forbear. My mother-in-law, I don't like my mother-in-law. She's a... But I love my wife. Huh? And I don't want problems with my wife because I have to live with my wife. But my wife loves her mother and her mother. I have a problem here, huh? And she wants the mother-in-law to come for a visit on the weekend. And that's the last thing I want. Because I can't watch my sports and drink my beer and lay around and enjoy myself in my own house. Because my mother-in-law doesn't approve of me and my lifestyle. Now, do I make a big story out of this? No, I don't. I just take it all with a grain of salt and figure out a way to be happy until she leaves on Sunday night. Right? That's called forbearance. That's maturity. That's a mature person. They don't make a big story. There's going to be these little things in life. Samadhana. It means the ability to focus on one topic. Keeping your mind steady on one topic. This is the topic. Who am I? We want to keep our mind on this. You don't want your mind running off, hopping all over every place else. If your life goal is freedom, then you need to understand who you are, and so your mind should be what? Focused on this topic. And you should be able to keep it on this topic consistently and steadily for as long as it takes. If it's scattered and hopping around here and there, how's this going to work? Most of you people, you know, have been consistent in this spiritual thing for a long time. You've been pursuing this for a long time. Your mind is like pretty steady. It can concentrate on this. Shraddha. Shraddha means faith. Faith pending the results of this inquiry or investigation. We're not talking blind faith. But you need to what? Temporarily suspend disbelief and accept that what we're saying here is the truth. You can argue with it later on. But in the meantime, you need to listen and hear what's actually being said here. Check your ego at the door, all your beliefs and stuff, put it on the shelf. and just try to hear what's being said. Let it come in. That's faith. Faith in the teacher, faith in the teaching. And devotion. Steady, consistent application of what energy in this direction. Okay, that more or less covers it. We'll come back to this because you'll see there'll be problems, and usually when there are problems, it's because one of these qualifications are not up to the mark. So then you got to go back to the drawing board and sort it. So it takes 5-10 minutes, and then to the next verse. So the idea is you need to be qualified. And in the book you'll see that in my book there's a chapter on qualifications. You can back it up by reading that. We won't go into it in any more detail. The verse 2. Just as chopping wood is the indirect cause and fire the direct cause of cooking, spiritual practice is the indirect cause and self-knowledge the direct cause of liberation. Read that again. Just as chopping wood is the indirect cause and fire is the direct cause of cooking, spiritual practice is the indirect cause and self-knowledge the direct cause of liberation. Now the reason he wrote that verse is because a lot of people think that by doing this practice they're going to get enlightened. They think, I'm going to do this, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to pray, I'm going to, whatever it is, a diksha. You heard of diksha? I can feel I got to stay off this topic. You know diksha? That's the Oneness University. Kalki Avatar who reverses your brains for $5,000. Oh yeah, he makes $2 or $3 million a month reversing people's brains, giving them enlightenment through it's energy sadhana, like Reiki. And see, what happened was that God made a mistake. You know, it was he worked hard. 7 days he worked to get this whole thing up and running. And on the 6 days he worked, and 7th day he got to rest. But on Saturday night, he had the whole thing going, but he didn't have the human beings put in there. And so on Saturday, he was putting the human beings together. And late at night, sort of at the end of the production, he had to put in the brain. The brain was the last thing to go in. And he put it in backwards. He was tired. And that's why we're ignorant. Our brain is in backwards. And that's why we don't know God. If we put it in right, we'd know who our Creator was and we'd be happy, but it's been wrong. And that's why for centuries, forever, millennia, human beings have been suffering in this awful, dreaded veil of tears, this samsara. But it so happens that Kalki Avatar has come on the scene, and he will correct God's problem. For the princely sum of $5,000 and 21 days of your time, including an air ticket to India, you can go to the Oneness University and sit in a room and have your cranium rewired. They will come in every day, put their hands on your head, and after 21 days, it's reversed. You're back to seeing her. You're fully enlightened, and you will, 2012, when the planetary, the planet's going to hell in a handbasket on 2/12. So we got to save it, don't we? You will be one of the 44,000 enlightened people who sits in the golden temple and what? Keeps the earth from disintegrating and dying on 2012 and moves it up to the next level so that you'll save the human race. And you're not going to get enlightened by doing anything. That's the point here. Huh? There is no action that will what? Make you enlightened. Will make you free. Enlightenment means free. Will not set you free. Why? Because freedom is limitless. Right? Freedom means has no limits. That's what freedom is. There are no limits. But any action, think about this, any action that you do is done what? By you. Are you limitless? Is your body and mind, are they limitless? No. They're limited, aren't they? You only have a limited amount of power. You have a limited amount of intelligence. You have a limited amount of desire. You have a limited amount of energy. And how could a limited person like you or me perform an action that was going to result in limitlessness, that would give us a limitless result? Not going to happen. Any action done by a limited being is going to produce a limited result. But that's not what I want. I don't want a limited result. I want what? Freedom from all these limited things. I want freedom from this sense of limitation of being a body and a mind. So I can sit till I'm blue in the face doing Zen for like 84 years, and I'm still not going to be enlightened. And why is that? Because I'm already free. Isn't it? Now, if I'm already free, do I have an action problem? I don't have an action problem. No.
Well, before the awakening, chop wood, carry water.
Yeah.
After the awakening, chop wood, carry water.
Yeah, I don't have an action problem, that's right. What kind of problem do I have? I've got a knowledge problem. I don't know that I'm free. Action is not opposed to ignorance. I do actions to get results. Why? Because I'm ignorant of who I am. If I knew that I was this, if I knew that I was whole and complete, would I do things to get whole, to become whole and complete? Including spiritual things. See, this is where a lot of us get stuck. We think, oh, that's different. Spirituality's different. He's saying it's not different. The more spiritual you are and the more spiritual stuff you're doing, the bigger problem you have. You've got an additional problem from what a worldly person has. You've added a spiritual actor or a spiritual doer on top of your worldly doer. And you believe that by doing these spiritual practices, hanging out with the guru is going to transmit it into you. Huh? You know that one? You've heard that one? And of course, if it doesn't work, it's because you're not ready. Hee hee hee. And you swallowed hook, line, and sinker. Why? Because you don't think. Because you want something so badly, you're not thinking. So what he's saying is here, hey, think about it here. Can you get what you already got by doing something? No, you cannot. You can only get what you've already got by understanding that you've got it. So I asked God, I said, hey God, give me a head on my shoulders. Yeah, I feel I didn't have a head, so I said, hey God, please give me a head on my shoulders. Now God created the whole universe, right? God, the whole existence. Who was it was telling me about the galaxies that are in the galaxies that are in the galaxies? Were you, Dave? Were you telling me about that? Unbelievable. I mean, we should let Dave tell us this. I mean, it's unbelievable what this cosmos is. It's extraordinary. Your mind, I mean, as soon as you even get halfway out there, or a few million light years out there, your mind boggles. But when you get like 100 billion light years and you find within one galaxy, one system, there are systems of galaxies. They're not just galaxies that have billions of stars. There are whole systems of galaxies. And who knows, systems in systems, oh God, it's unbelievable. And so God did this whole thing, and I'd say, hey God, please give me a head on my shoulders. And you know what? God's completely flummoxed. Because God can't do that. Can he? He cannot give me, he can do anything else. Sai Baba can tell me a billion things about the universe, whatever it is, but he cannot give me a head on my shoulders. Why? Because I have a head on my shoulders. He can, twitch it like a pretzel. He can squash it flat like a pancake. He can shrink it to the size of the pea, which it would be, if I was asking for a head on my shoulders, it would be, I would be a pinhead. But you can't, nobody can give you what you already got. Only can give you the understanding that where it is, what it is. Huh?
Can give you the understanding.
You can give you the understanding. It's like lighting a candle. If I have a candle and then you come up with a candle that's not lit, I can put the candle there, and then your candle will get lit, but mine won't become unlit, will it? It'll transfer. So understanding or knowledge can what? Be transferred. And that's what we're going to do here. That's what Vedanta is doing. It's going to, but we need to be very clear that what we're after is understanding. We want to know what's going on. We want to know who we are. We do not want to experience anything special or different. This is very, very absolutely a point. You don't know how much arguing I do with people out there in the spiritual world. Oh, Ram, that's all very good. But I want to know what awareness feels like. What does enlightenment feel like? That's all intellectual. What you're talking is intellectual. That's knowledge. I've had enough knowledge. I want to know what does enlightenment feel like. Well, enlightenment doesn't feel like anything. It's not an experience. It's not something that's going to happen to you. It's not something that's you're going to get. It's not something you're going to change, I mean, anyway. I want to understand who I am. I'm already okay. The reason I want all these experiences and want all these things and do these actions is because I don't feel I'm okay. Sorry, I touched it. Bad boy, Ramji. Naughty, naughty. So I can't get what I already got by doing something. Real important. Oh, I'm eating alfalfa sprouts. I'm standing on my head. I'm chanting Om 3 times every day. Yeah, and why are you doing that? Well, you can certainly do all that spiritual stuff. What? For health, indirect cause. Okay? Spiritual practice and indirect cause. Yes. Live a righteous life. Eat properly. Tell the truth. Do your meditation. Do all this stuff. Good. Great. Why? Why is it great? And we're all for it. We're all for spiritual practice, mind you. But to prepare our minds for what? Understanding. These methods are just to prepare us for understanding. I don't go to a guru because I want him to tell me to do something. Ramana says that. It's a very, very nice thing. I was reading one of his books, you know. He said, you don't go to a guru to be told what to do. No, most people think that's right. That's why everybody's afraid of gurus. Because they think the guru's going to tell them what to do. Now, guru means what? Guru means darkness, and ru means removes. So what? The guru, or a guru, is what? Just what the person, or the scripture, in this case a guru is the scripture, that removes ignorance. So I go to a guru for knowledge. I don't go to get told what to do. Understand? Because my problem is ignorance. My problem is not action. It's not experience. My problem is, and you know, in my book, I really hit this heavy on chapter 2. It's causing a big fuss out there in the spiritual world. You know, getting caught creating a lot of thinking. Because what I'm saying is this, what they're saying here. And these people don't want to hear it. Because they want the big, you know, Las Vegas, ka-ching, enlightenment experience. You know, you put all of your dollars into the slot machine and you keep pulling, you know, feeding, and you go into debt and everything like that. And then, boom, the big enlightenment, whoop-dee, all the coins come running out. And I just feel full of infinite bliss forever and ever and ever. You know, isn't that right? That's how we think it's going to be. The spiritual lottery. We're going to win the spiritual lottery. Woo! I'm going to be so happy. No, this is a very simple thing. This is not a big deal. This is not a big experiential thing. Because we say you're already the self. We say you're already awareness. You are already the light. Enlightenment means what? In the light. You're not only in the light. No, I'm in the light here, I'll tell you. You're not only in the light, you are the light. Didn't Jesus say that? No, he said the way, the truth, and the life. Or I am the light of the world. That's what he said. I am the light of the world. They thought he was talking about, you know, the Christians thought he was talking about that guy, that Jewish guy that got himself, talked too much and got himself hung up on the cross. No, that's what they thought he was. They thought he was the light of the world. No, what he meant was, I am awareness. I am consciousness. Spirit. Okay, you want spirit? You want a little more spiritual world? We can call it spirit. I am the Spirit. I am the Holy Spirit. Holy means what? Not holy. No, so holy. Holy means whole. Holy means complete. I am whole. I am complete. This is the knowledge we're talking about here. Now, how hard is that to assimilate? That might be pretty hard to assimilate, isn't it? Why? Because I believe that I'm incomplete. That's what I've been told. Mom and Pop, they started right out. They're not your friends. Mom and Pop are not your friends. They're as dumb as a loaf of bread, spiritually. Both of them. Huh? They started telling you there was something wrong with you, something was missing right from day one. And what did you know? You're this innocent little baby. We're all born ignorant. Everybody's born ignorant. Nobody knows a damn thing. You appear here and you're looking around and you don't know what anything is. Huh? And they immediately start filling you full of this belief that there's something wrong with you. What are you going to be when you grow up? Well, how about what I am right now, Mom? Isn't that good enough? No, that's not. No, that's not good enough, is it? I've got to be somebody or something when I grow up. See how this ignorance comes in? Everywhere it comes in, from all around, from the TV, from the billboards, from your friends, from you name it. The whole ocean of samsara is nothing but a big voice, a big mouth saying, you're inadequate, you're incomplete, you're separate, you're missing something, there's something wrong with you. Isn't it? I mean, that's why this is hard to assimilate. It's a simple thing. So you've got to investigate and see, is that true? Is this what they told us true? That's all it is. Is it true or is it not true? Let's get right down to the nitty-gritty on the spiritual business. This is the big question. Am I whole and complete? Am I okay as I am? Or is something missing? Prove to me that something's missing. Can you... See, it's only a belief. You cannot show me that anything's missing. That can you prove that you're incomplete? I just see you as pure awareness. I see you as a complete, whole, actionless, beautiful awareness. Unfortunately, out of your mouth comes what? Some words that seem to contradict that. Isn't it? Everybody's enlightened until they open their mouth. Isn't it? Huh? Everybody's beautiful. Everybody, you look at it, you see the light shining there. It's consciousness. See how conscious we all are? It's so nice. It's so beautiful to see these conscious beings. How lovely they are. And then if they could just keep their mouth shut, it would be so lovely. But then out comes all this nonsense. And it doesn't jive with what we actually experience. It doesn't connect. And so what we want to do is like get our knowledge in sync with who we are. Get our idea or understanding of ourselves in sync with what we are. Like the iPod. Syncing. Now I put my iPod on, it says syncing. I don't know, what are you syncing? Where are you syncing to? No. Yeah. I want to think and know that what? My thoughts about who I am should be what? In harmony with who I am. That's called authenticity. That's called self-realization. That's called self-actualization. I'm going to actualize in my life, in my words, in my speech, in my behavior, who I actually am. That I am whole, that I am complete, that I am beautiful, that my nature is love. You can see the war here that's going on in your head all the time. You know this, but then what? Some part of you doesn't accept it. The thing about ignorance is it's hardwired. It's pervasive, it's persistent, it's creative, it's very intelligent. Ignorance is very intelligent. It knows how to keep itself going. This is a formidable adversary, this ignorance. And if we're going to have a war, then we better know what our opponent is. And, Dharma combat, they're going to have a fight. Self-inquiry is a big fight. It's a big, big battle. Because every time you start feeling okay and on top of that, then that part of you questions you, doubts it. The doubter comes in. You lose your confidence in who you are. You start feeling rotten again. And then you gotta what? Find out what that cause is. Why do I feel like this? What's going on here? Is this true? That Byron Katie, good little inquiry. Is it true? Is it really true? Then what is it? Who would I be without this belief? You'd be damn happy without that. So you'd be very fine without his belief. See? It's this belief that I'm not okay that's bedeviling me, that's causing all this problem. Is it a fact that I am inadequate and incomplete? Is that a fact? See, the scripture says no, it's not a fact. Scripture says you are whole and complete. You are fullness itself. Aham purnaha is a word. It's a mantra. It means I'm full. I'm full. Something that's full, you can't put anything else into it, right? You can't add anything to me. Whatever life can add to me is not going to make me more full. And you cannot subtract anything from me either. Why? Because what? There's a beautiful verse. Om Purnamida, Purnamidam, Purnad, Purnamudachate, Purnasya, Purnamadaya, Purnamevavashishyate. It says the self is full. It's whole and complete. And this universe, this world, this whole world is also whole and complete. This world that we think is so imperfect and everything, that's also whole and complete. It's perfect, it's full. And if you subtract this whole thing, the whole creation, means your body and your mind and everything, from yourself, but yourself remains as it is. And if you add it back, it still remains the same. Nice. Means you're not lacking in anything. This is the contemplation, this is the meditation. I need to meditate, contemplate on this truth. We say it's the truth, and there's a part of you that says what? It's not true. So this is the conflict that I want to resolve. This is the spiritual question. We got the help of the Guru and the Scripture. The Guru is somebody who's complete. You can see it. They're confident. They're relaxed. They're not looking for anything. They're not up to any fancy stuff. They're just sitting there happy. And it's backed by what? Thousands of years of knowledge, tradition. So if you got a doubt, trust these words. And see if they're true or not. We're not saying believe them. You can believe them temporarily, but make an investigation and see if they're true. Okay, we already covered this, but I'll read it. Action cannot remove ignorance, for action is not opposed to ignorance. We said we do actions because we're ignorant of who we are. We do actions for results because we're ignorant of who we are. Self-knowledge removes it as light removes darkness. So he's asking you to sign on here. Sign on. See that what you need is self-knowledge. Stop chasing stuff. Try to understand. The self seems to be limited because of ignorance. That means what? It's not limited. It's not limited. Right? It seems to be limited because of ignorance. It looks that way, right? This is why you need the discrimination. And Vedanta is called Viveka. We call it enlightenment. Viveka means discrimination. We're going to see what is the truth, what the difference between the appearance and the reality is. We've got to, because what? It doesn't feel like I'm okay, does it? It seems like I'm really limited, doesn't it? That's what my experience is telling me, isn't it? Huh? My experience is saying, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not rich enough, I'm not whatever. I feel like I'm really not okay. That's my experience. And do you want to trust your feelings? Is this a feeling you want to trust? Most people say that's their big argument against self-knowledge. But I don't feel that way. Well, we're saying this is a feeling you don't want to trust. Oh no, but you see, I'm a sensitive person. And I really do want to feel everything deeply. And I felt that. And then they go on and on and on and on about what they felt. We're just so attached and so identified with what we feel. Well, this feeling, right, is a big problem. Do not trust it. It's based upon ignorance. So when you're feeling that way, what do? What's the solution? Knowledge. Take the knowledge that you're okay and look at this feeling in light of that knowledge and watch what happens to that feeling. This is a practical thing. It's a practical thing here. This is not intellectual. When you're feeling not okay, bring this knowledge into your mind and have a look at that feeling from that point of view, and I'll tell you what will happen. That feeling, it may not disappear altogether, but it'll shrink right down to its proper size. You will immediately go to who you really are. You'll really immediately go back to yourself. You'll see that feeling in the context of your limitless self, and it will no longer be a problem for you. This is, we call it the application of knowledge. Knowledge is not just an intellectual thing. Knowledge, we're going to apply it to life every day, every minute.
I have a question.
Yeah.
How do you explain love? If love is our nature, love is a felt experience.
Sure, absolutely. When you're whole and complete, your emotions, reflect your completeness, your wholeness. As soon as you realize this, you start to feel love for everything. Because you see you're non-separate from everything. And the only thing that was blocking your love was what? This ignorance, this maya, this ignorance, was keeping this love that you're expressing, right, from being appreciated for what it is. It will turn love into a negative emotion. See, love is just your attention. What you're paying attention to is what you love. That's all love is. And what is your attention? It's consciousness. If your attention is filtered through ignorance, you're going to feel bad. You're going to feel angry, depressed, and so forth and so on. As soon as you realize that you're this, your whole feelings all change. See, because where you feel love is in the heart. We call this the heart. Where you feel love is here. And in this aspect, this is where you feel it. It's a sensation. It's a vibration. You know what it feels like. Everybody knows what love feels like. That's why you're craving it all the time. And when you got it, you're trying to get more of it. Because it feels really good. And what is it that it precedes this feeling of love? An idea. Or what? A feeling of pain or suffering or anger. An idea, a notion precedes it. Isn't it? And that this idea, in other words, awareness functioning through a negative or an idea of incompleteness and inadequacy produces bad emotions, bad feelings. If the idea I have about myself is in harmony with the nature of the self, there's no resistance, and the love that I am, immediately heals my emotions and heals my relationships in the world. Automatically, you're a do-gooder. You're doing good for the world. Not by doing anything, but by what? Just keeping your mind in what? In harmony with your true nature. Then the love, the energy, the Shakti, we call Shakti or energy, the experience of love flows out of you and it infects everything around you. And you do good by being good. You don't do good by doing good. You do good because you are good. And it's all the key is right here to the feelings in what I think. Is not addressed, you see, in most spiritual things. Oh no, you see, Rob, the mind's the problem. The thoughts are the problem. That's the demon. That's the devil. You got to kill your thoughts, don't you? Huh? You got to get rid of those thoughts. That's what you got to do. Once your thoughts are all cleared out, then you're then you're enlightened, and the self will shine, and you'll be blissful all the time. Isn't that what they say? That's the whole idea. Yoga and all this meditation and stuff. They're trying to get rid of the thoughts, reduce the thoughts.
Well, what's the problem then? I mean, what do we do with the thoughts? I mean, the negative thoughts.
You look for the cause. What's the cause? The cause of the negative thought is that I think there's something wrong with me. That there's either me or the world. We say you are everything that is. So if you think there's something wrong with the world, it means you think there's something wrong with you.
And this is what drives people to do the destructive things and so on, because I feel something's wrong with me.
Yes. That's right. That's absolutely right. And you can't admit that it's your problem. So you go out like Hitler or somebody else and you dominate people and kill people and aggressor and do all these things, right? And you believe that when everything in the world is right according to your idea, so it's every day in the small relationships between people too. You want your hubby or your wife, you want to make sure they're doing it all according to the right way. And once they're doing it all the right way according to your thinking, then what? You're going to be happy. It's not my problem, it's your problem, baby. You don't see me as I really am. You don't perceive me as I really am. No, the whole key is here. Why do people want to ignore their ideas, their thoughts? I don't know. God gave us a brain, never mind Kalki and all that, but God gave us a brain for a reason. We're meant to use it. You're meant to think. That's what this is for. We're not saying you shouldn't feel things. You can't help it anyway. It's not up to you. You're always thinking. You're always feeling. You're always willing. You're always acting. You're always shining. You don't really have any control over it. It's all happening. Everything is fine. It's all going on. I need to be thinking. If this thinking is wrong, it's a problem. Big, big problem. We call it a cognitive shift. I need to change the way I think about things. All these therapies that don't address the underlying thoughts, and the psychologists have finally got around to it. They finally said, oh yeah, you're right. You know, all these feelings have this intellectual component, have this thought component. See, because this is a non-dual reality. There's really no separation between anything here. In our little chart, we've got them all kind of separated. But in fact, there are no lines here. The yellow here and the white here are all just merge in. It's all one thing. There's no separation between any of this. So you cannot disconnect your feelings from your thoughts.
Or your body.
Or your body. No, that's right. You think the wrong thought for a long time, you're going to have problems down here in your body. I believe that the perfect health that I've had since I realized the self and practiced yoga is simply because of my thinking is correct. Because there's nothing standing in the way of the awareness. I'm not putting any barriers here. I'm allowing whatever is in me to come out, to do its job. And it's going to do its job because what? It sees everything as itself. So it loves everything. See? This whole creation is nothing but awareness, is consciousness, is God's creation. And God loves God. God doesn't have this problem that I've got. God knows He's okay, and He knows that His whole creation is okay, and that this whole thing is coming out of what? Him or her. Okay, him or her. Sorry, ladies. Didn't mean to be sexist here. It. God, God, the self, awareness, whatever it is, knows very well that this is all it. If I know that you're me, will I hurt you? No, I may hurt you if I think you're not me. But if I know that you are me, will I hurt you? No, because by hurting you, I'm hurting me. And nobody does that except people who are nutty or perverts. Perverts and nutty people. They hurt, huh? So it's that these feelings and this experience that we have is coming because this unpleasant and unhappy stuff is coming because we're not thinking about ourselves correctly. And we're going to get rid of that stuff through self-knowledge. Yes?
On a practical level, when you have destructive thoughts, you want to hurt somebody, you try to speak to yourself and say, I am whole and complete.
Yeah, absolutely. And if that doesn't work, restrain yourself. Go to the countryside, take your fishing pole, sit there till you got bad thoughts go away. They won't know.
That might be a long time.
Well, it may be. But that's the Shama and the Dhamma we talked about. That's the control of your mind. If you can't apply that knowledge, if the feelings are still there, then just keep it to yourself. Don't get involved in the world. You'll add a lot more problems to it. Suffer it. It'll go. It will pass. But that's the hard way.
That simple little teaching when we were kids. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it really has a very
that's
profound...
all. Yeah, it's absolutely. It's wisdom.
Yeah.
You see it. The wisdom is there in the culture. You hear it in all these things. It's there. We just ignore it. We're just explaining to you the basis of all this, which is non-duality, which is that this is all one, where you're non-separate from everything. This is all me. Like where do I experience the paper? Over here or here?
In the brain.
Yeah, here. In my mind. In my brain, my mind. Okay, call it whatever you want. I experience it here. Sorry, I didn't mean to touch it. I experience it in my mind. How far is the paper from my mind? Is there any gap between my mind and the paper? No. The mind is like water or air, it just takes the form of a paper. That's why I know it's a paper. Because the mind, what? Reflects what's out here. It just appears in here. That's just how perception works. There's no separation between the paper and my mind. Now, how about this? How far am I from my mind? Is there a gap? Is there a tunnel? Do I have to catch a plane, fly over there? No, there's no difference, is there? I am my mind. My mind is me. So what? So this is me too, isn't it? If this is me, then everything is me, isn't it? Because I only experience everything in me. And my thoughts are made out of me. And when I understand that, can I hurt anything? Can I cheat anybody or lie or steal or do anything? Can I do that? I can't do it. I'm only cheating myself. I'm only lying to myself. I'm only hurting myself. What? No, that's not oneness, Ron. That's not oneness. Oneness is when you really feel connected to the object. You really... isn't that the idea we have of oneness? There's this object and you're just going to feel this tremendous connection. And that's what enlightenment is. When you feel at 24/7, you're feeling connected to everything. You're already connected, baby. It says in the scripture, the senses everything's already connected to its objects. You're already connected. There's no connection necessary. You just have to appreciate how this works, how consciousness set this up, and it's all just awareness experiencing itself here. Just that simple act of analysis of your experience, of your perception, right, shows you without a doubt that nothing is separate from you. Isn't it? It's hard to see that because why? Why is that hard to? I mean, now we do it. We use this teaching, this inquiry. It makes perfect sense. But why didn't I think of this before? Why didn't this come to me before? It didn't come to me before. Why? Because I have identified myself with this body. And because if I am the body, then definitely you're over there, aren't you?
Everything's separate.
Yeah, everything's separate, that's right. If you identify with a separated object, then everything else becomes separate from that object. So this, then from the body's point of view, yes, that body's not that paper. No way. So I say, I'm not the paper. Huh? Isn't it? But that statement is not correct. That statement is incorrect. We have already shown that statement is incorrect, but that's what I think. See what I mean? See how the thinking creates all this problem? The thinking is not in harmony with reality. See what genius these rishis are. How simple this is, how elegant and simple this teaching is. This is not belief, we're investigating, we're having a look here. You see, is it really like we think it is? See, we believe our thoughts about reality. But the last thing you want to do is believe what you think. Isn't it? Huh? Do not believe what you think. Because why? Because ignorance is creating this thought. Ignorance means the self is ignorant and it identifies with the body. And therefore this becomes an object. It becomes separate from me. And then what? Now I'm stuck in transactional reality. We call this vyavaharika. It means in a transactional world.
Excuse me. Subject, object.
Yeah. And the subject then, feeling incomplete, what does he do? He or she transacts with objects. There's no he or she, it's all the same subject. Gender doesn't apply here. Okay, this has nothing to do with gender. We're all just the same person. Just one person here. That person cut off from its knowledge what? Starts transacting with objects. This is why you get worn out and tired in life. We call it doership. You just get worn out. It's just, my God, look at all the transactions I do every day and have done for 10 or 20 or 30 years. My God. Huh? It just wears you out. It just grinds you down. I mean, that's what death is. Death, it's a death of 1,000 cuts living here. Believe me. You know, you don't notice, but little by little, every one of these transactions, oh my God. At the end of the day, you wonder, I don't know if I can do another one. And then you wake up and there's another day and there's another transaction. A whole bunch of transactions I got my list.